Hello and welcome. I'm your host ComicKnightZero, and today we're going to be starting off a new segment of this channel called Cartoon Rewatch. In this segment, I take a look at cartoons I used to watch as a kid and see if they still hold up or not. As you could probably guess, most of these shows will be coming from the early to mid 2000s. For this segment, I'll be starting with a show that may feel very familiar to you all. Code Lyoko. For those of you who don't remember, or have just never seen the show, Code Lyoko was a French animated TV series originally produced by Anti-Films Production, or currently known as Moonscoop Group. It was released in France back in September 2003 and eventually came to America on Cartoon Network in April 2004. Plot revolves around our main characters, Jeremy, Hi Puffy Amiyumi, the next Okage, a furry, and Waifu Online, as they try to stop an evil AI known as Xana from threatening the Earth. To properly start off the series, we'll of course be starting off with the first episode. This episode is called Teddy Godzilla? I'm not sure if that's a typo or if they actually meant to spell it that way. Anyways, the episode starts off with two girls, Millie and Tamiya, recording for their school's news team, in which they are making note that tonight is the night for their annual school prom. They try filming some interviews for the event, and then Sissy shows up.
Let's see whether she'll answer a few questions. Well, Sissy, how about a few words for our TV audience before the big night?
Sorry, Munchkins. I only talk to real pro reporters.
Judging from her high horse attitude, you could probably tell that she's the principal's daughter. Oh, and she also has a thing for Ulrich.
Anyway, who needs your dumb reporting? What do you know? Besides, you've got a problem. Don't forget you have to have a date, and I don't know anyone who'd want to go with a jerk like you.
She continues to drive in the point that Millie can't get a date for the dance, even though she's like 8.
Who needs them? There are lots of other boys.
Oh, yeah? What are you waiting for, then? Try and find one.
And with that said, her first thought was to ask out bad boy Ulrich.
I'm sorry, Millie. It wouldn't be a very good idea. I'm too old for you. And, well, you see, I promised to go with Yumi.
Oh my god, look at the size of that forehead. I bet airlines charge her extra just to bring that thing on board. And so, before Sissy gets a bigger tree to throw more shade at them, Millie runs away in tears. We cut over to Jeremy, who's communicating with Aelita, a character that lives in the virtual world known as Lyoko.
Aelita, this is Jeremy. Do you read me? Aelita?
Critical alert from Microsoft.
I'm fine. How about you?
Well, for the moment.
You know, I'm making progress with my research, so you can come and live with us.
The key to materialization? You found it at last?
Side note, one of the main plots of the show is that Jeremy wants to bring his virtual waifu into the real world. Dun 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 dun. We cut back to Millie crying her eyes out as her friend tries to cheer her up. Then, Xana appears.
Better face facts to Mia. They don't care about us or the newscast. Oh, I hate them, all of them. I hate every single one of them. I hate everybody in the world.
Same girl, same. We then see our hero setting up for the dance, then come back to Millie who's hiding away in a tool shed.
They think that because we're young, we don't count at all. If for once we were older, a lot older than them, they wouldn't laugh at us, would they?
Tamiya finds her, they walk away, and Millie leaves the teddy bear in the shed. With that, Xana takes control of it. With all that going on, Sissy is coming back to her room so she can prepare for the dance. As she begins changing, we see Xana spying on her. Now you're probably wondering why they're showing her in her underwear. The thing is, this show was originally produced in France, and with Europe's different rules of censorship at the time, showing something like this wasn't as big a deal as it is in the US, so keep that in mind. Well folks, what's the most threatening thing a vicious teddy bear can do to a girl while she's alone in her room? That's right, you guessed it. Knock some things off a shelf. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Now we have Sissy all traumatized like she got robbed or something.
Looks as if we got ourselves a super scoop.
What's the scoop? All that you know is that a bookshelf fell. What is there to report?
What do you say we take a look to make sure that our old friend Xana isn't behind this?
God, I bet astronomers classified her head as a dwarf planet so Pluto wouldn't get jealous. I'm sorry I keep bashing on this girl's head. I don't remember it being so large. With the evidence in front of them, our super sleuths begin to investigate.
What do you think?
A simple short circuit. Too many appliances plugged in at the same time.
Yeah, the hi-fi, lights, lady shaver, curling iron all together. What do you expect to happen?
Not to mention the brain stimulator. Although she probably never figured out how to use it.
Oh, is that it? You're just gonna stare at her room and make some lame quips? Okay.
If you ask me, Sissy had it coming.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Oh no! My teddy bear's gone!
What do you think this is, a kid's playground?
We know,
No
but-
buts, huh? Now, I hope I've made myself real clear. Entry forbidden. Access reserved for adults.
With you, everything is off limits.
Oh, you mean like writing him as a better character?
I would change the way I talk if I were you, little girl.
Little girl! Okay, I'm young, so what? It's only big kids who can say what they think, huh?
Ah, so you think you're real big kids. Okay, that's fine. News report or not, the two of you are grounded for tonight in your room.
Oh, great, Millie. Really great. Thanks to you, it's goodbye prom.
I mean, were you even gonna go? Because last I recall,
You've got a problem. Don't forget you have to have a date.
we later find Odd talking to the girls about Millie's missing Build-A-Bear. But after looking at the pictures, they learn that it was in Sissy's room. The girls wonder how they can sneak into her room, but Odd volunteers to do it for them. Soon, Jim has an encounter with the teddy bear.
Who's there? Come on out. You better watch out. I'm a black belt.
Do 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 do. We get some poorly overlaid frames as the principal asks Jim what happened.
I think it would be better not to call the police, right, Jim?
Then, come back to our heroes who begin speculating on what happened in Sissy's room.
Weird, don't you think?
It was a short circuit. A simple short circuit. What else could it be?
I'm not so sure, and you know just what I mean.
Anyway, let's play it real cool. Walls have ears, you know?
Anyways, Odd goes to check up on Jim in the nurse's office. The principal throws away a drawing of the bear. Odd picks it up and realizes Xana was probably controlling it. After discussing it with the group, they decide who needs to go inside Lyoko and who needs to stay here.
Okay, guys, who goes and who stays here?
We can't have a solo mission. It's too dangerous without Yumi. If you go alone, you never know what you're gonna find over there.
I volunteer.
What did I just say, huh?
For real though, he literally just told you. But after a debate, they decide to let Odd go alone while Ulrich will stay there and look out for the teddy bear. Now it's time to virtualize Odd and send him out to fight some monsters.
Aelita, it's Jeremy. Do you read me?
Critical alert from Microsoft. Your computer has alerted us that it is infected with a virus and spyware.
We think that Xana has launched an attack. Have you noticed anything?
No, nothing.
I'm sending Odd. He's coming over solo. Transfer Odd.
Oh man, I remember this being one of my favorite parts. It's when they scan themselves and become avatars in the virtual world. I always thought they looked so cool. Oh. Odd. Who did this to you? Meanwhile, Ulrich found the teddy bear tracks heading outside the school. Once they pieced together, they realized that it was Yumi's gravitational pull that was attracting the bear. In the Lyoko, Odd and Aelita are looking for the virtual tower that's being controlled by Xana. Then, our enemies arrive.
Odd, what's going on?
Laser arrows.
What? That wasn't even a laser. You could have just given him the same projectile as the enemies. Heck, you could have just given it a different color just to distinguish it.
Odd, you just lost another 10 life points.
No kidding.
Odd, I'm afraid we haven't any choice.
And without any warning, we learn that Odd can see into the future? I do not remember that at all, but I guess that's the point of this video now, isn't it? Ulrich eventually finds Yumi, and they make their way off to warn everyone at the school. After finding a secret tunnel, Aelita and Odd are chased out, and to their surprise, they find the hidden tower.
We found the tower, Jeremy.
Great. Well done. Now all you have to do is deactivate it.
Okay, just give me a minute to say hello to an old buddy of mine.
As a courtesy, you only have 50 life points left.
So while that's going on, Ulrich tries to warn everyone about the walking Build-A-Bear.
Hey, Ulrich, you could have made a little effort.
My thoughts when they made Jim's character.
Ulrich. Oh. How are you? Hey, where did your date go? Next time, just call me.
Wait a minute. Hold on. But didn't you say...
You got a problem. Don't forget you have to have a date.
So she teased an 8-year-old girl about not getting a date when she couldn't even get one herself? She couldn't even get the same guy Millie was after. We get a pretty interesting fight scene between Odd and the monster, while Aelita stands there acting useless. During that, Ulrich tries to warn everyone about the bear, but nobody believes him.
We have to evacuate the gym. Now, keep calm. I'm not joking. This is serious. We are about to be attacked by a gigantic teddy bear.
I knew it! I saw it too! I saw the giant teddy bear too!
Quiet! Shut up, all of you! You bunch of idiots! Can't you see what he's trying to do? It's a trick, I tell you! A trick to keep me from winning again this year! A gigantic teddy bear, come on! Why not King Kong while you're at it?
And then, dramatic timing. Now with the enemies out of the way, it's up to Waifu to activate the tower before everyone at the dance gets brutally murdered. Waifu puts in the code, causing the bear to halt its attack.
Ulrich, are you okay?
Yeah, sure.
With the tower activated, they can now reset time.
Wait!
You got to get away!
Move!
Ready for a trip into the past, Yumi?
And with that, they reset time all the way back to the scene at the beginning of the episode. With this, it gives them a second chance to change anything they did prior to the Xana attacks.
Would you be my date?
Be glad to, Millie. I'll see you here at 8.
Really? What? But, Ulrich, you're gonna go with that silly baby?
That's right, I sure am. But don't worry. When your brain gets another neuron or two, maybe I'll go out with you, too.
Well folks, that was Code Lyoko episode 1. Does it hold up? Honestly, I want to say no. Now don't get me wrong, Code Lyoko was a show that I really enjoyed as a kid. I'm sure I mostly watched it for the 3D fight scenes. But now, looking back at it, the 2D animation is okay overall, but it's a little sloppy in some areas. And the foreheads. What's with the foreheads? I've seen better body proportions from unpaid artists on DeviantArt. Now for the 3D elements... I mean, the 3D models aren't too terrible. I don't exactly know what their budget was, but the fact that they used 3D elements every episode shows that they at least tried. Not to mention, there weren't too many shows at the time trying to use 3D animation. The shows that come to mind that were doing this around the time are probably Jimmy Neutron, Dragon Booster, and Butt Ugly Martians. So there was definitely a variance in quality. As for the main characters, it looks like everyone has their place in the group dynamic. Except Yumi. she's just kind of there. I mean, based on this episode, we know that Jeremy's the intelligent one, Ulrich is the bad boy that all the ladies are after, Odd is the jokester, Aelita's the waifu, and Yumi is the preteen hormone love interest? I'm not entirely certain just yet, but I'm sure we'll see how she fits in the group as time moves on. And the voice acting? Yeah, that's definitely a voice. I'd say I'm just mostly not a fan of Sissy's voice, to be honest. In general, when you compare the voice acting to what we hear in modern cartoons, it comes off passable, but not great. But I would like to give props to Sharon Mann for voicing both Jeremy and Aelita. She does a great job at doing distinguishable voices for those characters. As for Jim, there's something I have a problem with. It's not really Jim's character himself, but rather how the show and the other characters portray him. It seems they're always trying to make him as either some sort of antagonist or the butt of the joke, which I'm not really a fan of. From this episode alone, I could see that Jim is someone who really cares about the students and just wants to keep them safe, but everyone just brushes him aside like he's some idiot, so I really hope they do more with him later in the series. Now you're probably asking, isn't there at least anything here that you think still holds up? And my answer would be, of course. Let's start with Xana. Personally, I think Xana works as an interesting antagonist. It looks like some artificial being with the ability to do almost anything, so it really makes me wonder how our heroes will be able to defeat this thing once and for all. But when you make an entity without a clear limit of power, things are gonna get really absurd really fast. So you can only hope things don't get too crazy later on. Next we have Millie. I love the plot with Millie. The writers could have chosen anyone else to start the first episode with, but instead they chose Millie, a side character. Since we were going to spend most of the episode focusing on our main heroes anyway, it was nice to see someone else drive the plot. What we see here is everyone putting Millie down because of her age. It's a pretty simple premise, but it quickly becomes more than that. We see how everyone's actions is slowly affecting her. She builds up hatred for those who are older than her, and although they keep treating her like the kid that she naturally is, she begins to resent them for it. And Millie's voice actress does such a great job at emulating that resentment. I mean, listen to this.
Little girl! Okay, I'm young, so what? It's only big kids who can say what they think, huh?
Ah, so you think you're real big kids.
At least you don't care how old I am, do you? We understand each other. We're not like those dumb older kids who always want to run things. They think that because we're young, we don't count at all. If for once we were older, a lot older than them, they wouldn't laugh at us, would they? Really?
She sounds so sinister as she vents to her teddy bear, almost as if she's filling it with all the sadness and hatred she has toward the other kids. And before this monster filled with all these negative emotions is released, we get an ending shot with one loud roar, giving us a hint for what will happen next. If this isn't a great way to build a conflict, then I don't know what is. Then we have Aelita. I really like the side plot of them trying to bring her out into the real world. It gives us sort of a small goal to look forward to instead of just waiting for every Xana attack of the week. And since they reset time every episode, I'm sure that'll cause implications on how they can get her out. But those are my overall thoughts. I'm not saying I hated the episode or anything, I just feel there's a lot of elements of the show that don't age very well. Nonetheless, I think there are some elements of the show that still make it somewhat watchable. But you can take that for what you will. Well folks, I think that'll just about do it for today. If you watched the show when you were younger, did you enjoy the series? If you've seen it recently, do you think it still holds up? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'd ask you to smash those like and subscribe buttons, but I recommend you get consent before you do. And with that, I shall see you all next time.